All right, so day 15 with Dior, and it was time to introduce the saddle. So I like to have them loose in the pen when I bring it in. So again, I can have them follow me like I've done before when I've introduced her to new things. Because again, when you go to tack them up and you have this big saddle, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of noise, it looks very different. And I also have people ask me why I use a Western saddle in the beginning. Well, because it's a little bit bigger, it's got the flappies, it's got all the things. I have a Windtech, an old Windtech that I use for the beginning. So it's a bit lighter, and I don't mind if it gets tossed around in the dirt. And again, it's easier for me to kind of go up and down on it. But now I've got the lead with her, and I'm going to walk her around so she can follow the pad. And then I'm going to introduce the pad to her. And kind of the same way I did with the surcingle. And she's gotten pretty good with this. I'm going to show it to her when I open it, because again, that looks completely different to them. So when you come at them with the open pad, I found like if I can prep them for it, then they understand, and then it's easier. So she's handling this really well. So a little bit goosey with the touchies of the pad. And again, I'm just going to stay with her here. And then have her walk forward and follow it. And then go back again. That was a very nice reaction. And that was super. So now I'm going to switch and go onto the right side. I always tend to do more stuff on the left in the beginning because I'm more coordinated and I'm safer because I know my body that way when I do the left. But it's important to go back and address the right side as well. And she's been pretty good, so she tends to relate things pretty easily. So now I'm just going to rub her with the pad. And then letting her walk. She's just trying to block me a little bit to going on the right side, so that's why I positioned her a little different. And then again, I have it open. And I like to use this movement just with the pad because it's the prep work for the saddle, because for the saddle you got to have a little bit of movement when you put it up on there. And that was very good. And even if it gets a little bit of awkward and she wants to move forward, I'm just going to ask her to flex. And then in doing so, she stops, which is a nice reaction. So you see that's pretty good. Now I'm going to grab the Wintech. And again, I'm going to show it to her. And again, the movement that I'm doing where I turn it towards her and I show it to her is kind of the same movement as when we go. And she's handling this really well, so that tells me that I can have the green light in a minute here. I was talking to one of my friends who's filming for me, and that was very good. And then I'm just adjusting the girth a little bit. And prepping her how I did when I used the surcingle. Again, kind of telling her, hey, I'm bringing the girth up. Now, I'm not going to make this super tight. I'll make it snug enough to where it doesn't slide. But in the first steps, what I do is I make it just snug enough. And she hasn't been too bunchy or anything like that. But a little bit right here, she got a little worried. So I'm just going to play with this here a little bit again. And then I'm going to ask her to step forward. Because again, it's similar to the rope work. So again, depending on each horse, it's a little bit different, but I do like to graduate and not just cinch it up super tight, but you also have to make sure you don't want it to slip or to fall off because you're trying to generate a good first impression with the saddle. So I'm able to get it on, then I'm going to make sure I move myself out of the way in case there's a little bit of a buck, because it's going to feel different. And per kind of her usual, she likes to use movement when she gets a little bit worried. So then as she moves forward, now I'm going to work on tightening it up a little bit. And then I'm going to ask her to move forward again. Working on changing directions. And you'll see there's a little teeny piece of hay string on that saddle that tickles her bum every now and then. But so far she's handling it really well. Just a little bit of a hop. Again, this saddle kind of flops all around. But it's very lightweight, which is what I really like about it too. So they're just getting her to wait a second. And then I'm going to do one more tighten. Because again, I like it to be very gradual. Because my goal here is to help teach her to be confident in these scenarios. And there's a little hop That was to be expected. And then makes for a good whoa, which I was very happy with. And just gonna give her a second here. And she's actually being very good considering you saw wind there. He was running around. And now tracking to the right again. She's doing really good. And I was really pleased with that. So, some of my sessions vary, but oftentimes when they're good, I'm going to try to keep it on the short side. So just making sure there she was okay with the stirrup going up. Sometimes that can worry them. And I just loosened it up a little bit for her. And then working on padding a little bit because they're not used to padding. So padding can oftentimes cause them to worry. And so you have to teach them that the pat is a good thing. And, oftentimes people say, well, the rub is the reward. But if I'm training a horse or to sell or to rehome, I'm going to teach it to be okay with the pat, because oftentimes people will pat a horse without even realizing it. So that was a very good girl. I was really happy with that. And I thought that was a very kind of positive first saddling. So then we walked back to the barn, and she did a good job just walking back with the saddle on. And then I'm able to untack her in the cross ties. And again, I'm pretty confident with how she's handling everything, because I've kind of built it up in the stages. And overall, I'm really pleased with her on day 15.
Well done, good girl.
Awesome.